And hi, and welcome back to King Po Myers. We're Ariadna.
And I'm Dylan.
And we're back with, of course, another podcast episode over here. We're super excited because today we have Brittany, Miss Von Frankenstein herself. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, how's it going?
Doing wonderful, and we're so excited to finally talk to you a little bit more.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited too. I think you guys connected with me on Instagram a few months ago, and I saw that you were buddies with Spooksy Boo and the Ghoul Mates, and I was like, these must be my people because they're friends with all of my people. So I'm pumped to actually get to connect more in real life right now.
Oh, we totally agree. Spooksy Boo, Kimmy, oh, we love her so much. She was our first guest as well. And for those who don't know, we just started yesterday, our last giveaway of the year, obviously, because it is December. And you participate as well in it, and Spooky Spoo as well. So we're super excited for, like, the whole pack, basically.
Me too.
We have, like...
I've seen some of the goodies, and it's a good one.
I think it's a really good... I think we both think it's a good one, because there's so many prizes. And we have King books, because we just did a King Po Myers only King month, basically, November. Mm-hmm. And we got like 4 books for y'all, so it's amazing.
It's a great giveaway.
Awesome. And by the way, your guys' graphic now for your podcast, your logo is on point.
We adore it so much. That's a huge shout out to Moon Soda, to Sammy. She also is gonna do, I don't know if you know, but if not, our audience gonna know, we're opening a shop really soon as well.
That's awesome.
So you're going to start seeing different kind of designs, because, I mean, I do have different platforms, so it's going to be like a goodie bag of, like, who I am, from spooky to, like, spiritual. But, yeah, the logo is made by them, and we're super, like, excited and thankful. Oh my God, it's such a killer logo, isn't it?
It is. It's really cool.
Exactly. So before we start, of course, what we always ask is tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. When I saw you guys were going to ask this, I was like, that is a very overwhelming question.
Usually it is. So it's going to, like, this way, like, make sure, like, I'll tell them beforehand, you know?
Yes. Thank you for that. So as mentioned, my name is Britt Jasperson, or as more people probably know me, Miss Von Frankenstein on Instagram. I've been carrying that name since the MySpace days, so it feels like a part of me.
Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. Why did you choose that name? Like, tell us about the name really quickly.
You know where I've always just been weird for forever, and there's an old claymation movie called Mad Monster Party, and one of the main characters is actually voiced by Boris Karloff, and his last name is Von Frankenstein, and so I just straight up stole it from that movie because I liked it.
That is really cool. I was like, does it have something related to Frankenstein itself?
The movie?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it has the Frankenstein theme woven in for sure.
That is awesome. We've talked about it in a few episodes. I feel like with probably Sam So Spooky or something like that, maybe throughout the King month, about like Frankenstein and Dracula, like all the old monsters. We'll get into that a little bit today, obviously, but that's fun. So what else? What else about you, babes?
Okay, so Miss Von Frankenstein's name, 32 years old, happily married to my husband, Anthony, who thankfully is on board for me, like, decorating our house like a freaking monster museum and celebrating Halloween all year long. Super crazy dog lady. I think that's the most important part of who I am. We have a cattle dog mix, Diesel Weasel, who's like a big part of my Instagram as well.
Yes. We see him a lot, and it's all the love. Oh my goodness, he just went through surgery as well, so all my love, all our love.
Doggy version of a double knee replacement literally a month ago, but today we went on our first official walk, like, now that he's able to walk up and down stairs again, and it's just so nice seeing him, like, regain his life. So
yes,
that's amazing. Good for him.
Yes.
So thankful.
Very thankful we were able to do that for him. So yeah, crazy dog lady, entrepreneur. So I do own a virtual health coaching business, and that is kind of where my brand started, but now it's starting to expand as well. I'm speaking more on podcasts. I'm actually working on launching a fit fashion line with Spooksy Boo right now, which technically should launch in February, but we'll see.
Oh,
awesome.
So
exciting.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. So I'm just kind of working on expanding the brand right now. Like I said, I live in Southern California, so we have no weather, and it bums me out. I'm jealous of anyone in snow right now. And I cuss like a sailor. So I think that was like my summary of who I am.
We love it. It's such bubbly, wonderful personality. It just, your feed is, I love it so much. And we both do, because it's like, you can tell your personality through your feed. and like all the outfits you were. Oh, I'm so excited that you're gonna launch a line. That's so cool.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Congratulations.
That's thanks to Spooksy, because she's an awesome businesswoman, and I've
She
been
is.
lucky to connect with her, and she's kind of linked arms with me and taken me along for the ride. So I'm always just learning from her.
She's just wonderful. I like, we give her all the props all the time with everything that she does, because it's a lot and it's just wonderful to see.
Yes.
So that is about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Miss Von Frankenstein. Let's start talking about Halloween, aka the lifestyle that we both share. We have a love of Halloween, of the spooky, when it comes to decor, just that amazing lifestyle. Where did it start for you?
Oh man, so I have been obsessed with Halloween literally as long as I can remember. I remember as a kid, my parents decorated a little bit for it just because, you know, they had a kid, so it's the obligatory put a couple items out. And to this day, I could name every single item because I just loved them so much, and I thought they were so cool. And I remember just thinking, even at that young age, like, how come for Christmas we decorate the whole house, we get a tree, we put up, you know, music boxes and all these crazy things, and then for Halloween we have like 4 things. And I just remember thinking it didn't make a lot of sense. And I remember also from that same age, I was obsessed with the movie Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it.
It's such a classic. I love it.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you know it, because it was my obsession to the point where we would go to our local video rental store, the Video Giant, every week, and every single weekend I would just rent only that movie.
Oh
and I
my
watched
goodness.
it so much that I wore out the VHS and the video store had to throw it away.
Nice.
Yeah, so
that's love.
That is commitment right there.
Yeah, there you go. I went all in. So yeah, between the decor and then that movie, and then I also remember seeing like when other people's parents would dress up, and I was like, why don't my parents dress up? That's the coolest thing in the world. So I think like from the time I was young, I just had that sense of like, why can't we make Halloween as big of a deal as Christmas? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
What about you guys?
I mean, for me, very similar. I think it was like in kindergarten, we each had to write like what is our favorite holiday, and everyone wrote Christmas. Everyone wrote about getting presents and the Christmas lights, and I was the only one who didn't choose Christmas. I'm like, no, I like Halloween. I like watching scary things. I like Halloween costumes. Also, in kindergarten, first grade, I think that was around the time I watched my first horror movie, Friday the 13th Part 3. So
you were a tough kid.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was definitely the odd one out for a very long time in school, and I always just loved the season. I loved the decor. I loved just that gothic feeling. Gothic is a very important feel for me. So, yeah, kindergarten, first grade for me. How about you, dear?
Well, mine's story, I guess, is slightly different. I mean, I feel like it came to me more as a teenager adult more than I was a kid. I grew up in Miami. So much like you, we don't have weather over there. California, Miami, Florida is basically summer all year long, more or less.
Yeah.
So we didn't really experience Halloween in the same kind of way. Plus, I moved to Spain when I was a teenager, so all that, you know, lifestyle when you were like growing up kind of just went away. And plus, like, we don't really have Halloween in Spain. Like, it became recently famous, like 4 or 5 years ago. Let's say that. So, long story short, with all this, no matter where I went, I knew I always liked what he was saying, like the spooky vibe. I love Scooby-Doo. I don't really like scary movies, but I do love the gothic, the vibe, the feel, the essence, exactly. Yeah. I love dressing up. Oh my God. I always had costume parties, not only for Thanksgiving, my gosh, and only for Halloween, but just like in general, just like Halloween costumes or just regular costumes. It doesn't matter. Like it could be freaking July, you know? So a little bit of everything. And then we are currently, like you all know, in Massachusetts. So this is the second fall we've been here. Mm-hmm. And I finally experienced what fall is like in New England, which is amazing, of course, because you have pumpkin patches and you have hay rides. And
we have Salem, we have Sleepy Hollow, we have just Halloween in New England. It's something special. If you're not from New England, you have to check out Halloween here.
Yes, especially
it's something
one of the
special.
2 towns. Definitely.
Really cool. I would love to see that. We went one year to Colorado for our anniversary, so in October. And that was kind of my first real fall experience. Like I was like, oh, the weather's colder and the leaves are changing and leaves actually fall on the ground, much unlike California where we have palm trees.
Exactly. Like it's such a big difference for me as well, because I feel like they live it a lot more here without a doubt, which makes sense obviously because the weather does change and the leaves change and etc. But we enjoyed mainly last year. I mean, this year obviously for obvious reasons we stayed home and we did carbon pumpkin we did more carbon pumpkin this year because of that probably.
Man, I'm proud of you guys. We actually like gave up on the carving pumpkin tradition because it's so much work.
Preach. Dylan loves it though.
I love it, but when you and my sister bail out on carving pumpkins, I have to carve everything. After like one large pumpkin, I'm exhausted, and I have 2 more to go.
Yes.
And I'm just buying her paint next year. Like she can paint the pumpkin. I'm not carving.
This is my second year carving, and I've only carved I think like 3 in my life. And I'm like, okay, we're not carving all of them because it's freaking insane. Like at least I'm not, because it's a lot of work. And his sister, I mean, we do live with her. She's a teenager, so she's kind of like a wild card. So it makes sense. Depends on the mood she's in.
That's cool. I do the same with my husband. Like anytime we carve pumpkins, I'd get like halfway done, and I'm like, I'm over this. You do it. Like this is not fun.
It really isn't. It's fun looking at them, of course, but like doing them, I'm like, oh my god.
It's incredibly fun.
Sure.
I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I couldn't carve a pumpkin every year. Like I would lose it.
You lived in different countries though, and you didn't carve pumpkins.
I was always back for Halloween, and that wasn't on purpose.
No,
but somehow I always came back for Halloween.
That's also true. That's because
you appreciate it. Like if you go somewhere where they don't do that, then when you come home, you're like, I want to do that traditional thing we do at home. You know?
Yep,
that also makes sense. Exactly. Moving towards, you describe a few things for us, of course, and one of them is desensitizing yourself to your fears.
Yes.
And I love that sentence. If you know me, I have different platforms for spirituality, wellness, mind, body, soul kind of thing with the Always Believer. So this whole sentence, I was like, oh my God, I love it. Tell me more.
Yeah. So, like I said, I was always kind of drawn to, like you guys said, the essence of Halloween, the spookiness, the decor, the costumes, it all appealed to me. But the kind of ironic part, if you will, is that I was actually, and I guess still am to an extent, like a very fearful person. Like from a very young age, I was exposed to some like heavy stuff. Like I went to funerals for great-grandparents very young. That's some of my earlier memories. I remember from a young age being very aware that like, oh, our dogs are going to die and I'm going to have to deal with that at some point. My papa was a smoker. And so from a young age, my mom would be like, ask papa to stop smoking because if he doesn't, he'll die. And she was like trying to, help my papa quit, give him that motivation. But for me, it made me focus on death from a young age and made me kind of scared and kind of sad all the time. And then I remember being scared of even just Halloween stuff, scared of like haunted houses. Like if the neighbor had like a spooky porch, like I was like too intimidated to walk up there or whatever. And so it's kind of like funny that I gravitated towards Halloween, but I think it was because I had that sense of wanting to get tougher. Like I knew I was scared. I knew I was uncomfortable. And so I thought, what if I just lean into that and expose myself to that? And I think naturally gave myself a thicker skin by gravitating towards this funky season and funky lifestyle.
I feel like that makes total sense. It's one of those things like everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Exactly.
And I think this is like one of the cases, much like you, like I said previously, like I get scared. Depends on which movie, for example, and depends on the moment. I really like the supernatural stuff, as in like Stranger Things, for example. But when we started dating and when we started, like, I know how much he loves Halloween all year long, and I'm totally for it. We've had like the masks up, for example, in this small house that we have since like summer, you know what I mean? And they're going to be here all year long because we got them in summer. So point being, like, it is something that's like an everyday thing. And I feel like the more you embrace it as well and be like, yo, I'm going to stare it in the face.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. It just helps you accept it. And that's actually something my psychologist talked to me about too later in life. He was like, the reason that certain things plague you is because the second they come into your mind, you shove them out. So then they keep nagging at you. That thought keeps coming back. But he's like, if you sit down once a week and give time to your biggest, deepest fears, then they don't need to nag you all week long, because you gave them that time, you gave them that space, you felt it out, and now you can like move on. So I think Halloween just helped me like not get stuck in my life. It helped me cope with the fear and then move forward.
Oh, I love that. I love that statement. The Halloween does that as well.
Most powerful day of the year.
Indeed.
In so many ways.
In so many ways. Oh my goodness. I know you wanted to talk about something special to you too. You know what's coming up.
I
do. So please tell us a little bit more about this something special you have.
Okay. So this is something I've actually never talked about anywhere, like not on my page, not on a podcast, but I'm an only child. And I think for that reason, at a very young age, I had an imaginary friend. And I can actually tell you exactly where this friend came from. It was a Halloween decoration.
Aww.
And it was a ghost who was in two parts. There was the head part and the body part. And they had suction cups on either side. So you'd stick basically half of it inside and half of it outside. And it looked like the ghost was traveling through the window. So this was the thing my mom would put out every single year. And I took this image of this ghost and I made him into my imaginary friend, Ghosty, very original name, who lived underneath my bed. So I had like a trundle bed and I would sleep on the trundle part. And so Ghosty lived underneath the other part of my bed. But I remember when my cousins would come, usually during the summer, like I had a bunch of cousins and they'd each come for like a week. So then when they'd leave, I'd get a little bit lonely. And then that's when like me and Ghosty would hang out and he'd help me cope with that little bit of loneliness as I got over that my cousins left. So yeah, I just thought that was like a funny thing when I look back on it. Like I was just creepy always for no apparent reason.
For no apparent reason.
I don't know why, but there we go.
First of all, thank you for sharing that exclusive. We felt so wonder, like, oh my god, so cool. And second of all, like, well, we all know that imaginary friends. I think we've all had them to some extent at some point of our life, whether we remember them or not. I don't know if I remember. Well, mine was like more angel type, to be honest. Mine was always like an angel or a fairy, but mainly like an angel, because once again, I'm very spiritual and like all these sorts of things, and I'm very mindful. So that's was random, actually. Now that I feel like you now, I'm like, come to think about it.
Weird.
For me, mine was when I was once again very, very young, and I have no idea how this happened, but I think I got like a Burger King toy, and it was like the Scooby Gang van.
Scooby.
And for like I don't know how long it lasted, but I remember like so vividly that my imaginary friends were the Scooby Gang.
Oh my gosh, that's epic.
And I remember being a little kid and being like, they're all with me right now.
Aww.
Like I'd walk into a house and be like, hey, Shaggy's gonna go get some food, Auntie. And she's like, okay, Dylan. And I would assign them to do different things. Like I was what, 5 or 6, I think. I remember that.
Oh, my love.
I feel like we're on the same wavelength. Like loved Halloween always, made up spooky imaginary friends.
I love the ghost feature that you also brought up. I mean, Scooby-Doo's an obvious because we all love Scooby-Doo up in here. I mean, come on. What's not to love about it? It's very cute. Did you see Casper when you were little? This was before Casper Butterson, I'm assuming?
It was definitely before Casper, but yes, I saw Casper and loved and still love that movie.
Yes. How can you not?
The uncles are my favorite. Like, I love the scene where they're at the table and they're eating and then all the food just goes straight through them and it's like a mess on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just said, how could you not love Casper? I do not like Casper. I've never watched the movies. For the sole reason, I'm like, why do I want to watch something about a friendly ghost? Ghosts aren't friendly. They're evil. And this was me as a young child.
They're not evil now, though, for you and your perspective.
Well, yeah, they're misunderstood.
There you go. I like that word.
The uncles are rather evil. So, like, Casper himself is a friendly ghost, but there's plenty of unfriendly ghosts involved in the story.
Okay.
You like Christina Ricci, so hopefully that helps you.
I
There you
do
go.
love Christina Ricci.
You know what I
I love Katrina Van Tassel.
exactly. Oh, Sleepy Hollow, such a great film. My goodness. And Town, but definitely. So thank you for sharing. Definitely that part.
So, how did you realize you wanted it to be part of your forever and everyday lifestyle? This wonderful, creepy time.
That's a really good question. So like I mentioned, I think my whole life I kind of had that instinct of I want this to be a bigger part of my life than it is for most people. And when we were younger, that definitely wasn't a thing. Like the Halloween 365 did not exist. But I remember in junior high, I started listening to music that was kind of aligned with like a spookier lifestyle stuff like AFI and like the Misfits. And also started watching more Tim Burton and got really like balls deep in Nightmare Before Christmas. I watched it every single night to fall asleep. And so I think between the spooky music and the spooky movies, it kind of gave me an outlet to make it a part of like my fashion more and a part of my everyday life more. And so at that point, I like decorated my room with those kinds of things. Like I was like, okay, I'm old enough in junior high to kind of make my own choices, make my own fashion and style. So I had a whole like AFI wall. I had like bats hanging from my ceiling, and I just kind of went all out in my little space. And then it kind of evolved from there, especially like with my coaching business. Like because of my coaching business and the people I've connected with, I realized that there were other weirdos like me who were doing this, who wanted Halloween to be all the time. So yeah, just over the years, I think it's kind of just gained momentum. But I think that music and those movies really gave me that initial outlet.
That is impressive as well, because I love how you gradually, put it in your life, obviously, that it wasn't really overnight, like, okay, I'm doing it all. Yeah. But it is little things that since you were a child that made you who you are. Because like I said, your feed, like whoever's listening right now, go to her feed, because the way you dress is like one of my favorite ways that I would love to do like in the future. Because it's like you bring the spooky, the sexy, the fun, and I love it. Basically.
I've actually noticed that about you guys too over time. I feel like you're coming into your own more with like your fashion and your style and kind of the aesthetic of your page and your lives, and it's really fun to kind of watch it unraveling too.
Oh, thank you. We do have a lot of fun. That's our main thing. I feel like these conversations we're having, the guests that we have on, just in general, so that kind of like feel good vibe. And one thing that you definitely said that we mention a lot is community, like the Halloween horror community. It wasn't a big thing. I feel like it's becoming a big thing right now.
Okay.
And we just wanted to be part of it and create something for everyone, have one more thing.
Isn't it kind of funny how I would at least think like a horror community or a Halloween community that's like spooky, you'd kind of think it'd be negative. But to me, like I found the best connections and the most like authentic and happy people in the horror community, which is crazy.
We definitely agree with that one. I mean, I've been on social media before with my whole different platforms, but it's Dylan's first time dipping his toes in. And everyone he talks to, he just freaking adores as well because of that.
It's still, to me, very unreal that the community is so large. It's like you said, it's so accepting, and it's just very different for me because I just never expected this, and what I'm getting is just beyond my wildest dreams. It's unbelievable.
Isn't that so cool when you kind of finally find that place where you're like, oh my God, I'm not the only one like this. Like I actually fit in with other people who are weird like I am.
Exactly. Because like you were saying, when you started watching a lot of Tim Burton, I remember like being in middle school and, there was that group, there was the Tim Burton group. They wore off his stuff. All their binders were Tim Burton. And I was so interested in it, but I remember I purposely held myself back because, you're a kid and you want people to like you. It's like, no, screw that. Like, do you?
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, if I start watching this, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. And I wish I did earlier in my life. I eventually did. And it's been the best plummet down the rabbit hole because
definitely. It's just so much
Nightmare
fun.
Before Christmas.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're going to talk about Tim Burton later, but oh my God.
Yes. Would you have picked a more fitting metaphor than going down the rabbit hole? Way to nail it, dude.
Thank you much. You mentioned being part of an alternative culture since you were 13. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, yeah. So I think it all kind of just, as you can see, all kind of weaves together. But
Mhm.
I grew up on rock and roll. My
Hell
dad
yeah.
was really big into classic rock.
Oh
And
yes,
my
please.
mom was always keeping it fresh. Like she was, she had Alanis Morissette and the Richard Manson and, all the good angry stuff in the repertoire. So I grew up loving rock and roll anyway. Like I mentioned, I always kind of was geared towards weird, creepy, spooky things. And I also just, this is super weird because I was a very complacent child. Like I was just nerdy. I, was chubby. I dressed not cool. Like I'd wear jeans and a Scooby-Doo boys t-shirt. Like there was nothing very notable about me. I was pretty quiet. I followed the rules. I got good grades. But I have always offended people just by existing. I swear. I don't know like what it is about me, but my whole life, like friends' parents didn't like me, teachers didn't like me. Like I just got criticism always. And it's even as an adult, I look back and I'm like, it's so weird because I was just so compliant and nice. So I don't know. I think it was just that I was confident in being myself. And so I think that just offends adults who aren't confident when a child is self-assured.
I'm talking about hitting it right in the nail, or whatever it's called.
Nail.
Yeah.
Oh, good
So
God.
I remember just feeling kind of like, I had a great solid home life, but I felt outside of the home like I just didn't really fit in, and I just upset people. I was different. And so again, I think that, getting into alternative culture was a natural progression for me. Basically, when I turned like 13 years old and was old enough to actually really pick out my own clothes, my own music, my own style, and have a little more freedom, I naturally gravitated towards punk rock. Like it was pissed off. I was pissed off, your angsty way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just started like digging into punk music, and then obviously I wanted my fashion to reflect that. So I started dressing. Obviously, I'm wearing some plaid right now, but I started dressing alternative just because it felt suited to who I was. I'm like, I already felt different. I love this kind of music, so I'm just gonna kind of go all in with it. And like I said, I fell in love with AFI. They're to this day my favorite band. I've seen them like 11 times.
Wow.
And so they were kind of the first community where I felt like I belonged outside of my family. I was like, oh, okay, there's somewhere for people like me who maybe aren't accepted by like the mainstream or the norm. So yeah, I think that feeling of acceptance then really kind of like hooked me.
That's once again, like you said earlier on, it definitely interlinks, and we left us speechless in a good way because we agree in so many levels and so many aspects with fitting in.
And the music was a big thing for me. I mean, I remember AFI when I was in high school. I love the song Miss Murder. That's a great song. But I really never got into them. I got more into more heavy metal. So for me, I was Rammstein.
Oh, yes.
German metal. And yeah, my friends in high school and college gave me so much shit because like you listen to that, angry German music. I'm like, you don't get it.
You're like, you're making me angrier, and now I need to go listen to more of it.
Exactly. Yeah, I've not seen Rammstein yet. I was supposed to see them at Gillette Stadium, but COVID.
Yeah, this year, that's right.
But
yeah.
I'm dying to see them. They rarely come to America. What about you, dear? Did you listen to any
Probably not. I feel like
punk rock or?
no, I'm more into like classic rock, as you already know, very 80s style kind of rock. I think punk rock. No, I mean, my best friend, which happens to be your cousin, his cousin, showed me a lot of the ropes basically when it came to that age, but I just can't remember for the life of me right now.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I'm not in that kind of music, I guess we want to say. You said so many things, and I'm like, I feel like I need to take notes next time, I swear, to make sure, like, it's true, though. Like, I have other podcasts, and sometimes it happens because you get so enthusiastic talking about everything that I'm like, wait, that's a good point. But what you said, just being authentically yourself, I feel like we've become more ourselves. I think Dylan was faster. Like, what I'm trying to say is, like, you became more yourself at a younger age. I took, like, a bigger leap of like I'm still adapting to being myself and dressing the way I want to dress. For example, I've had my own like on and off as well. Like there's times in my life that I've been, more confident, but long story short, I guess with what I'm trying to say is like, once again, your feed, the style, it kind of links it all together. And I feel like that's awesome.
What do you think held you back from kind of embracing this side of yourself? Do you know?
That's a ridiculous good question.
Fear.
I would say, yeah, you're right, love. Like the first thing was fear. I feel like my life, I mean, goodness, my life was really, really rocky most of my life until like very recently. So I had to, grow up really, really fast. Plus, I feel like the culture mix between, I was born in Venezuela, raised in the States, and then I moved to Spain. So that's a whole different vibe right there, and like a whole different kind of music and a whole different kind of scene. And yeah, so definitely fear. And like, I want to say not finding people who like the same stuff as me, but I guess it's logical because I was in Spain. So that's kind of difficult to find that kind of crowd and know where that's at. So I feel like that could be the first part of a very long answer. The more we talk and like do a therapy session, basically, be like, oh, okay, there you go. That's where it comes from.
That makes a lot of sense though. Like for my business, I talk to people all over the world, and I really only feel like the last like 2 years, a lot of the people I connect with in like the UK and Australia and stuff like that, they're just starting to catch on to Halloween. Like they see Americans going all out and they're like, why aren't we doing this? And so it's starting to pick up momentum there, but it's definitely something that like in other parts of the world is like not really acknowledged.
I feel like it's that because like I can honestly tell both of you in the whole world, like for many years Halloween didn't exist for me, but because it just automatically didn't. Like I moved to Spain, I was adapting to their culture. I'm part Spanish by now because I lived there 16 years, so obviously I feel like I'm from there. And because it doesn't exist, it was kind of like, it makes total sense if you look at it that way. I'm happy it came back even a little bit before Dylan because I did throw Halloween parties before we started dating. Just for the hell of it, my friends knew. I threw Friendsgiving as well. You know what I mean? Because I love being thankful. So like it was my thing.
Awesome.
And ever since he came more into my life, yeah, definitely an every day. When I say every day, it's literally every day kind of thing. We have like the stuffed animal of Jack dressed up as Santa though. So
Yeah,
it's a 2-for-1.
I actually have, let's see if I can get on here, my creature in a Santa hat.
Oh my gosh, that's freaking
Oh, that's
insane.
mint.
I need that. We need that. See, oh, we can't wait to decorate our house more. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, I love this so much. Where are we in this conversation right now? It's like, let's go to the next question, but holy moly. Oh yeah, okay. So you've already touched a little bit on what you do. Tell us specifically, because what I loved about you when I first saw you, just in general, once again, I've also been a life coach. I'm a motivational speaker. I have a whole business going that's behind the scenes right now. That's a lot going on. So I understand exactly where you're coming from. What I love about you, that you are what you do, which you're going to tell us a little bit more right now. But you had the spooky, you had the Halloween, you had the vibe, you had the leggings, you had, you know what I mean? Like, I freaking love it.
Aw, thanks. Well, I have to say the fashion, like the spooky fit fashion, is thanks to the fact that I hired a business coach a couple years ago, and he actually called me out. He's like, why are you bringing this like fierce fashion and like spooky vibe to everything you do? Except for then it's just like your workouts are just like randomly thrown in there and it looks like it was an afterthought. And I was like, oh, good point. So I had to like spend some time finding brands that actually made spooky fashion because it's not like a normal thing.
Yeah, no. It really isn't.
Yeah, so it definitely took some time for that to all unravel. But yeah, so I'm a virtual health coach. So basically I actually have like a Netflix of workouts that I hook my clients up with that has like over 50 full programs on it. But I dig into them. I dig into their goals, their lifestyle, how much time do they have to invest, money, all that good stuff. I help place them in the proper fitness and food programs to actually reach those goals and match their lifestyle. And then I add them into what I call my virtual fit fam, which is done through an app. So they're logging their workouts, they're logging their nutrition, and every day I'm doing a main post in there as well. So I kind of view it as my Patreon almost. It's like an extension of
an extension, isn't it?
Yeah, of me and my content. Because here's what I found is working out and eating healthy can be really tough. And we've all tried and we've all failed and we've all gotten frustrated by it. And then we beat ourselves up and it can really just spiral. And so I was like, you know what breaks that cycle is just having fun, like not putting so much pressure on it, but just having a really simple plan to follow and then having a good time. And so this group, every day I'm doing like some kind of fun or spooky main post just to keep my girls engaged, just to keep them wanting to show up in the group and be like, what stupid shit is Britt talking about today in here? What dumb assignment today? What Christmas song is she making me record myself singing? And I just keep it fun and I keep it light. And so they stay engaged, and it keeps their health journeys on the forefront of their mind, and it keeps them showing up for that program and actually, helps them get results. So yeah, that's the basis of my business is virtual health coaching. And then, like I said, I am expanding right now, working on potentially going in the podcast direction, working on the fit fashion direction. So, it's expanding, but that's always, I think, going to be kind of the heart and soul of what I do.
That is just freaking incredible. I'm so, so proud of you, so happy for you, so excited for you. Because it's just so wonderful to see stuff like that. And like you can tell that your audience, your clients, of course, are super excited to be with you and just happy overall, because I've seen the reviews and I see the results as well, and you can tell because of the shares and etc. and all that you do. So that's awesome. And I love that your business coach did tell, hey, bring the spooky into here because it all makes sense.
Yes.
Why the F not? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like it's another way of like normalizing Halloween, if that makes any sense.
Yes. I'm definitely a coach who I'm either for you or I'm not for you. Like there's no in between. It's either like I get this weird idea or I so don't get it.
You and me both. I feel like Dylan kind of the same. I mean, I'm pretty like all or nothing kind of gal. So it's like if I give you my time and attention, I'm going all in. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. So going back a little bit, we want to also add how you're dealing with haters when you were younger because of the spooky vibes, and that actually led you to be the mentor you are today. So I found that really interesting.
Yes. So I actually took some notes on this just because I think it's such an important thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, especially with the internet, like bullying doesn't stop in school. It just keeps going forever. And especially if you're like you guys or like me, where you have a platform, people love to just show up and throw shade your way for absolutely no reason.
Uh-huh.
And as I mentioned, this is something I've gotten my whole life too. And not just from other kids, more so from like adults when I was a kid. So number one thing I wanted to mention is one of the ways to grow your confidence in this area and not be so scared of judgment is literally to walk right into the fire. So starting my coaching business, I had no intention of really building an Instagram, being an influencer. Like that was not on my radar. I was like, I'm getting healthy because I have autoimmunity. I want to pay that forward and help other people not reach rock bottom like I did. And I want to make some money to pay my medical debt. And that was like my only intentions. But I quickly realized that if you want the privilege of working online, you have to become a content creator and you have to build that platform, and you basically have to get eyeballs on your page because it's like your storefront, right? So I quickly realized that I was going to have to just make my page public, put myself out there, and there were probably going to be times it didn't go so great. And I've had my share of haters, but when people hate on you over and over and over, it's kind of like me desensitizing myself with Halloween. You get desensitized. Like at some point you realize that was my biggest fear, was someone was going to say something mean, and then they did say something mean and I didn't die. And then,
and then your life continued and you still have clients that loved you and like followers. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like, eventually you realize like every time someone says something horrible to me, I don't die. So I guess it's not like the worst thing in the world, and you just kind of get over it. So that's one thing about dealing with haters. The second thing about dealing with haters is just like keeping them in perspective. So if someone who I really love and respect, who's living a great life, like my husband or my mom, called me out on something, I would consider that. It'd be like, oh shit, like if my husband thinks I'm out of line or my mom thinks I'm out of line or something, I should probably really consider that and think about maybe course correcting. Random internet stranger, I don't know them. I don't know anything about them. They don't know anything about me. They are probably not a super great quality human that they're coming on a stranger's page just to talk crap. So I just realized that like I don't need to give them the same weight, and they're giving the same weight that I would give to other people. And then especially like because with my business, it's grown enough now that we donate $100 a week of my income to dog rescue. And dog rescue is super, super, super important to me. So I'm like, do I actually care enough about some stupid internet stranger talking crap on me to not do the work that empowers me to rescue dogs? Like what's what's your actual priority here? Like other people's opinions or doing good work that matters, you know? So that was the second thing, was that perspective shift of giving them the proper weight on their opinion, which is none whatsoever, because I don't even know them. And then
right.
I think the last part of this was, as much as people being mean to us sucks and getting bullied sucks, it's also what's taught me to set proper boundaries. So I think like I'm a very sensitive person, and I definitely can lean towards being a people pleaser, and oftentimes at my own expense, which is partly how I ended up with autoimmunity. And so also like leaning into this fire and putting my platform public and letting people have their opinions, it made me realize like, how do I want to handle people like that? And for me, it's just the block button. Like, I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to try to win the battle. I'm not going to try to drag you down. That's a waste of my time and energy that I could be putting on someone who actually wants to talk to me, who actually needs my help or support. So it's also helped me get crystal clear on like where my boundaries lie, and it ensures that I protect like my own mental health. So at the end of the day, I feel like me going through all this and learning all these lessons the hard way empowers me to have conversations like this and empower my clients and my coaches with this same mindset. Because at the end of the day, you're going to get hate either way. Like whether you put yourself out there or you don't, or you're neutral or you're opinionated, or you dress normal or funky, like no matter who you are or what you do, someone's going to hate it. There's 7.5 billion people and they're not all going to like you. So I just empower everyone in my circle that I can with that permission to be authentic. It's like, I'm over here being authentic. I get hate once in a while. Who cares? You be authentic too, because it's better to be hated for who you are than being hated anyway and you're not even being yourself, right?
Completely agree, 110 million %. I feel like we agree so much that we have the same mindset, and it's a lot of what I do with Dylan as well. It's just like healthy mindset over and over again, especially when you come from such a toxic background. Through family, friends, life experience doesn't matter. Like by now, just be yourself. And I do that a lot on my own other platforms, like my personal one. They've seen me, like what I always say, like without makeup, without filter. It's like, this is who I am because I feel like recording right now. This is what the work I put in, and just being authentically yourself. And once again, the other thing you said was, not everyone's going to like you. They don't have to like you. And the best thing you can do is block, because why give your energy away? Like save your energy, protect your energy, and then like talk to the people who really want to talk to you, and vice versa. So yes to all that. Thank you so much for those words of wisdom, Miss Von Frankenstein. For sure. Oh my god, I love it. I feel like you and me can like talk for hours as well.
All of my
Definitely.
Well, that was wonderful. That's very, very airy.
Yeah, I love how real you also are. Yes. Not to you, not to a Dylan moment.
To a Dylan moment. Nice.
Or conversation.
Yeah, we're getting, this is a big Dylan moment. We're diving right into supernatural things. But before we do, what did you study specifically, and how does that influence you in your beliefs?
I love this question, you guys. This is awesome. So I graduated with my bachelor's of science in biology, and my emphasis was on ecology and evolutionary bio. And so I think when it comes to actual spooky things, not just the fun decor, but actual like belief in like paranormal or supernatural or anything like that, I think I approach everything with a pretty like open mind and also a healthy skepticism. Like I'm definitely open to things, but at the same time, I don't feel like I've really experienced anything that can't be explained. I do personally believe in God, but again, that's also just a choice. Like I haven't had any like crazy God moments to speak of. I have no wild story to share about some near-death experience or anything like that. I choose to believe in God, and that's all it is a choice, because I feel like it enriches my life. But yeah, overall, I'm just kind of like open-minded to everything, not convinced of much of anything.
That's well said.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I'm very similar. I view myself, I believe in science, and I love learning about science, but I'm also at the same time very, very spiritual. So, like you said, it's kind of that healthy skepticism. I think there are some things that science cannot answer, and I think they can be answered in faith. And I think, and vice versa. You can't just view everything purely in faith and just not believe in science. I've had maybe one somewhat supernatural thing happen to me. But I had two grandparents who had very intense supernatural things happen to me, to them, I mean, and they were old school, and they're people who told it like it is, and I have no reason to doubt them.
Right.
So I'm a strong believer.
Okay.
I would say.
Yeah, I know you well enough, so yes, I'll definitely say that you are. I'm a mix, I guess. I agree with both of you. I always found it like when you told us what you studied, I always found that very interesting because you do come from science, and I love science as well, of course, and I do believe in it. Your faith in God is my faith in the universe. It's literally the same thing with a different name, just a different label on it. You know what I mean? It's definitely very interesting, I feel like, when it comes to supernatural stuff as well, because much like you, I don't feel like to call it like a paranormal experience or a spiritual experience, but once again, like when I was a kid, when I was telling you guys about like the angels I saw and stuff like that, and like it's a mixture of like imaginary friends and like feeling it, but it's nothing that I can tell you like, oh my god, like the lights flickered, I don't know, or something like that. But I don't know, there's something about it that I do kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people pit supernatural, paranormal, faith, whatever you want to call it, against science. And they kind of make you pick teams, right? Like you either believe in science or the supernatural. But to me, like having graduated in science, I felt like it actually made me more open-minded because when you really learn the scientific method, first of all, you realize that just like there's so many things that just haven't been studied. So just because it hasn't been explained by science doesn't mean that it can't be, like all intertwined. It's just that we haven't put our money or focus on that yet. And also with the scientific method, like it basically says there are no facts. Like there's always, if you follow the scientific method and you do it properly, that facts can always shift and always change essentially based on your findings. So I kind of felt that it made me more open-minded to things. So I don't know.
It just makes total sense. It really does. It's exactly what you said. Like we still need to investigate more, and everything evolves. Everything.
Exactly.
Once you find something, you're gonna find something else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Down the rabbit hole. That's the theme.
There you go. It is. Indeed, it is. His thinking face.
I mean, so we've talked about you seeing angels and such, but anything else paranormal ever happened? Potentially? Something you've questioned?
I feel like I have to dig down deep with my memories with this one. Because being spiritual is a big part of who I am.
Really?
I know, right? That's a surprise. Shocking. I don't know how to answer that right now because I feel like I have to like dig deep down. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that, let's put it this way, much like the question that Miss Von Frankenstein asked me before, like what made you stop? Mm-hmm. Or like what made you not talk about these things, probably that fear of not only not fitting in, just kind of like, oh my god, what would they think kind of deal. And then when I turned the switch, when I flipped the switch, there we go. Now I'm way more open to share these things. I just have to remember them a little bit more, but I know they're there. My other side, as you already know, it's like tarot, it's chakras, it's like manifestation, it's meditation, it's yoga, like it's all that as well, all wrapped into one.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I am a firm believer. Probably have a whole episode
probably
with just supernatural things because now that I'm thinking about it, I actually have a couple.
That'd be cool. You guys should do that. I want to hear.
I know, right? Like he's intriguing me, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to the audience? They're like, come back for season 2, to be continued.
I know, right? Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I love these kind of conversations, and I really wanted to have you on because like I knew it was going to spark more conversations. So that's amazing.
So moving on from supernatural, we're gonna go into the really fun, very exciting Hollywood classic monsters from 50s to now, and your personal favorites. We have Creature from the Black Lagoon and Mothman in particular. The fact when I saw that you love Creature from the Black Lagoon,
Yeah.
I was so excited because I've actually never met someone that's their favorite, and I got really excited. So, what is your story with the Creature?
I think it's partly exactly what you just said. Like, I've always felt like the kind of different outcasty weirdo, and I felt like, God, why is this the most underrated monster? Like, everyone's talking about Frankenstein's monster and the Bride and Drac and even Wolfman. Like, how does Wolfman get more love than Creature? So, yeah, honestly, one of my first kind of like memories of him catching my eye was, it's so dorky, but Anthony and I, one Halloween season, we were just at Bond's, like the grocery store, and looking in their little Halloween section, and they had this set of plates, and it was so corny because you know how they have to like tweak things to like get around the copyright. So it was an image of Creature from the Black Lagoon, but it said Swamp Thing. And oh yeah. So we bought this set of plates, but instantly that became my plate. I was like, I love him. He's so cute. Maybe it's because I'm a Pisces and he's like a water bug. I don't know. But he just aesthetically appealed to me. I just thought he was so cool looking. And then again, like he wasn't someone that anyone else was talking about. So I went and watched the movie and I was like, this movie's amazing. Like, why are people not more in love with Creature? So yeah, it kind of, again, down the rabbit hole. I just went down the rabbit hole. I started just finding items here and there with his image on it. And then I feel like lately he's started to catch a little momentum and people are giving Creature some more love. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's kind of where it started. It was like, I felt like a bit of an outcast and I felt like he was a bit of an outcast and I liked that he was the water monster. So it was just like a win-win.
Nice.
I love that.
I mean, I will say he probably has one of the best movie posters with the girl swimming and him coming up. I mean, that's why I originally watched the movie as a kid, because that poster was just so like, it was perfectly iconic, just like Jaws.
Mm-hmm. True. What are some of your favorites? Because I know you have the movies. They're literally right behind us somewhere.
Oh yeah, I literally have right here the classic Universal monsters, and it's all 30 films.
Oh, damn.
Right, to say the least. And they're all black and white. They're all the originals.
Classics.
Do you have a favorite?
From the Universal monsters?
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to pick anyone but Dracula.
Yes.
Because Dracula has always really been my favorite. But now that I'm older, me and my buddy a couple years ago, he made me watch Bride of Frankenstein, and now that's arguably my favorite Universal movie because, I mean, you have Boris. I don't know who played the bride, but she stole the show.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I mean, yeah, we need to get you watching these Universal movies because they are really where it all began.
Yes, I feel like if you're someone who's like, you're interested in spooky things, but horror is like too much for you, I feel like the Universal monsters are the best place to start because they're creepy, but they're not like too gory. There's not too many jump scares. Like it's not so in your face in the way that like modern horror is.
Yeah.
So definitely a yes for me. I feel like probably after Christmas because we watch Christmas movies during Christmas, obviously. But we do watch horror movies all year long. Because Halloween 365. Well, we're watching also. I mean, it's super random. I know it's next week's episode, actually, the Halloween and horror. Krampus.
Oh, the Christmas horror movies.
The Christmas horror movies.
I love me some Krampus.
Krampus and the other one.
Black Christmas.
Yes, that one. Thank you.
I want to watch that one. And that's on my list this year. I'm so pumped to watch it.
So tune in next week. We do have a special guest, and where she was Sam's So Spooky, and she was with us for the Halloween special, and we're watching it / I might be. We'll figure it out. Definitely. I'll definitely look into these, though. We did buy them for a reason. I mean, apart from Dylan, but I'll definitely start watching them.
Yeah, you'll like them.
Thank you. I'm excited. What's next, babes?
Mothman.
No, actually, I think I love Mothman for the exact reason I just told you you would love classic Universal. Because I was someone who was really scared of super scary horror movies. I remember I was like so traumatized when I saw House of 1,000 Corpses. Like I still have not recovered emotionally. So I went and saw Mothman Prophecies in the theater with my girlfriends, and it was super creepy and based on a true-ish story, which I love, but it wasn't like too gory or too much. So I feel like I was already in the spooky realm, and it was the first spooky movie that I felt like I really enjoyed and could handle. So then it just gave me this affinity for Mothman.
Okay. I have not seen it, but...
That's very sweet. That's a very sweet response. It's like, you help me like these movies a lot more. I feel like that's probably going to happen to me if once like I get to one of them. Like, oh my god, I'll definitely get back to you to tell you whenever we watch them and be like, oh my god, this one.
Definitely.
I know we've been talking for a while and we're about to more or less wrap things up. I know we did want to talk about two last things, I guess. The other part of like supernatural, because we're talking about paranormal and things like that, we have to mention really quickly, like Ouija boards, ghosts, spirits, because you do have an opinion about this one. I do know for a fact.
I do. So it's so weird because I had a Ouija experience that I would say worked. I put that in air quotes because I'm still skeptical. Like, even though I was sitting right there and I went through it, I'm like, there's probably an explanation for why this seems like it worked. But it was my best friend in junior high, Simone, and I. We went into her house, went in her room, turned out the light, lit a bunch of candles. This is so creepy that we did this, but we put on the radio on static. Like, just nothing.
Set the mood then.
Oh yeah, apparently. And I think just because I thought it was a joke and it wouldn't work, and so we both had our hands on the planchette and started asking questions. And I mean, it started doing its thing, and I forget the name, but it literally gave us a name, and I wrote it down somewhere. I'm sure I still have it floating around. And then we asked like, how did you die? And it spelled out murder, and we asked, what kind of murder, and then it spelled out knife. And so, I had the full-on working Ouija experience, and I can say honestly that half the time I didn't understand where it was going. Like, I didn't know what it was trying to spell. So I know that I wasn't moving it on purpose because I literally wouldn't have known where to go because I didn't know what it was trying to say. And I mean, my best friend, I knew her pretty well. She seemed freaked out. Like, she didn't seem like she was acting or anything, but maybe she was. I don't know. So I did have a Ouija experience that, again, I'm like, I'm open-minded to it, but I still am not convinced.
She said in the cutest way ever.
I'm dying to try out the Ouija.
You are.
I've never done it. I've always wanted to. Come on, witch, let's go.
And he says it in a really good way, because I do like calling myself witch, because it's totally there. I do like the spirits, for example, so I'm more into that once again, because I'm just repeating myself, because it's true, though. Ouija board, yeah, he's been wanting to do it for a while. I am kind of like you, to be honest, kind of like, yes and no, because it's kind of like, you gotta, like, respect the spirits regardless.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're going to encounter. You don't know how that's going to make you feel. And because I personally feel in this realm, I've gone through a lot and I'm still healing through things. Plus 2020 has been 2020. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to like add something else on top of everything going on.
Come on.
People do get super intense about it. Like, whenever you mention Ouija, people will be like, don't do it, and also if you do it, then make sure you clear the spirit first before you burn the board, and there's like all these rules, and I was like, damn, I was just like a kid playing around, but I don't know, apparently people are really scared of them. So
they really are, though. Like, I'm not scared of them, but I know lots of people who are.
My best friend's dad, very deeply religious man, big scary dude. He's a big teddy bear, but when it comes to every time we joke about the Ouija board, like he even said, like, when we were little kids, I will throw you out of my house if anyone brings that goddamn thing into my house.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
just like a couple years ago, we're like, Chris, what happened? And he's like, you want to do it? Do it. But don't come crying to me. I'm like, okay.
Something happened there. I feel like
Story.
every time, I know, right? Every time we talk about the Ouija board in general, I feel like someone has a story. It's kind of like one of those things, like Jumanji. I know it's really random, but you've seen those movies, like, don't you dare do it. Don't you play this game. Don't you know something's happened. There's a backstory, and this is like actually real life. Because you have a story, for example. He really wants to do, I know we're doing probably an episode on the season 2, because you all been asking. We live really close to the mental state hospital, right?
Yes, Medfield State.
So we go there often because it's like, it's all abandoned by now. It's been abandoned for many years. His aunt and his mom used to work there, so.
And my great Nana.
And his great Nana. And
Use them on your podcast.
at least one of them, yeah, definitely.
I want those stories. Those would be
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah, my aunt has a lot of stories from there.
And that's where you want to do the Ouija board and his aunt
Well,
as well.
I feel like if we brought it to Medfield, like if everything is correct, that thing should start moving like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Especially that place.
Curious status.
Right? So out of all the places, that's where he wants to, or the cemetery, something like that.
That'd be
But
pretty
yeah,
cool.
I swear. There's so much we can talk about, of course. I know that our audience is going to be enjoying this episode from beginning to end because we just talk about like everything and everything spooky in between. To kind of sort of end it up, of course, going back to Tim Burton because it's Tim freaking Burton. Dylan, take the floor.
Well, what else can you say? It's Tim Burton. He's a god. I've loved him since I was a kid. For me, the Batman movies, once again, watched when I was a little too young. But yeah, Jack Nicholson as Joker, Batman Returns, my all-time favorite Christmas movie. I mean, he's just had such an impact on me. Sleepy Hollow. I mean, what are your personal favorites?
Well, obviously, I'm a bit of a cliche because, like I mentioned, my favorite is Nightmare, just because it's like one of the first ones I saw and really recognized was Tim Burton. That gave me that permission to be Halloween 365. So that one holds a really special place in my heart. One thing I love about him too is that he like really gives it up for like the spooky dogs. Like we got Zero.
Yes. Zero, I love Zero.
Yeah, and we have Frank and Weenie, and I mean, he just always kind of like gives us a spooky pet, and I really just adore that about him. I really like, I think I really enjoy Sweeney Todd. So Anthony and I actually dressed up as Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney Todd one year for Halloween.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice.
Well, you gotta share the pictures with us.
It was actually fantastic. Anthony made me a clay pie, and I murdered a doll and put the arm sticking out of it. That was fun. Yeah,
I love it.
I think the most underrated of his flicks, though, is Big Fish. Like, I remember seeing that in the theater, and I thought it was visually stunning, and I also thought it was a really interesting plot and message. So yeah, I really enjoy Big Fish, too. I think that more people should check that one out.
I agree. I feel like I probably did watch. I just don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
The name sounds wicked familiar, and it's Tim Burton, so I probably watched it. I just sadly don't remember.
Not scary, so you can watch that one.
Yes, definitely. I definitely agree with there. Any that you recommend?
So like I said, Big Fish, Sweeney Todd. I really like the OG Frank and Weenie, like the live action film that he did in the 80s versus like the newer animated one.
Okay.
So I recommend checking that one out. And then obviously Nightmare and Beetlejuice. If you haven't seen those, why are you even listening to this? But also go watch them.
Exactly.
So there's that.
There's that. Those are the classics, definitely.
Yeah.
So right about now, basically at the end, our audience already knows. We always ask each guest 3 questions.
Okay.
And they're pretty easy.
right.
So the first one is, describe Halloween in 3 words.
No, that's not easy.
This one isn't.
That's not easy. I did it.
You did do it, though. That's not easy.
I would say spooky, celebratory outlet.
I
Very different. I love
adore
it.
those words. I love that. Favorite Halloween candy?
Oh no, it's candy corn. Everyone's gonna hate me.
No, thank you.
Corn.
No one respects candy corn. It is such a delicious treat.
Seriously. And it stacks up to look like corn. That's really fun. You can infuse vodka with it and make it a martini. Like, it's just so multifunctional.
Yeah, now Ari wants to try candy corn.
I like candy corn, goodness gracious.
Mhm.
But now that she mentioned the cocktail, yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get cotton candy, my God. Candy corn during the year? Or is it just like a Halloween based?
We'll try Amazon Prime.
Sure. Not an ad, just curious of like.
You need to get a jar of vodka, put a bag of candy corn in, infuse it, and then you mix it with 50-50 of that and pineapple juice, and then you guys watch Black Christmas.
Yes. Yes.
It's been settled.
And for our viewers, candy corn is available on Amazon Prime.
Once again, hashtag not an ad, but for those who love candy corn all year long, it's on Amazon.
I really should be Amazon spokesman. Like,
yes, you should. Oh my God.
I love them so much.
Oh my God. You know, every single meme, like the woman is always shopping and like hiding the gifts or like the packages. It's the opposite over here. It's like him always shopping on Amazon or eBay.
That's how
My loves.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely. That's the end. Sadly and truly.
That's it?
We made it.
Mrs. Von Frankenstein, thank you so much for being with us. This has been a hell of an experience. A great way to almost end the season. We got one more podcast, but this was a lot of fun. To all of our viewers, stay tuned for next week's episode where we mix horror with Christmas.
Like we said,
Krampus and Black Christmas. I've seen Krampus before. I love it. I'm rewatching it, and I cannot wait. Black Christmas will be a first for me. We're doing that with Sam So Spooky. That's going to be a lot of fun. Will you be watching them, dear?
To be determined, basically. So find out next week. Which one's the one that I might like?
I think Krampus.
Have you seen Krampus, Miss Von Frankenstein?
Yes, it is pretty cheeky. I think you'll be okay with it.
Okay. And I like the main character, the actor. Because Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Basically.
More or less.
Give or take. So I would think so. I think that I can be involved in that conversation.
Okay.
And the episode after that, December 18th, that's when we finish our season 1. So there you have it, folks.
Woo.
Come back. And we got plenty for season 2, plenty to be continued without a doubt. Thank you so much, Miss Von Frankenstein. This has been a pleasure. Like, thank you.
Oh, thank you guys for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Definitely. We're definitely going to link everything down below as we always do. And we tag a million tags as always. Quickly tell us, where can we find you?
The best place to connect with me is Instagram. So it's spelled just like it sounds, MISSVON Frankenstein, all one word. I'm posting every day. I'm in my comments. I'm in my DMs. I'm all up in there.
She is freaking active. And it's literally, we keep calling you that name because that's who you are. So Miss Von Frankenstein. Thank you. And for the rest, see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you later.